The private wing of St. Augustine's. Hospital smelled of bleach and despair. Machines beeped in rhythm with the shallow breaths of Chief Obinna, the billionaire many called untouchable. Once the lion of Abuja's business world, he now lay frail tubes running into his veins, his eyes half shut, as though already 1 foot in the grave. Nurses whispered outside the door. He won't last the night, one said. His heart is too weak. But fate had other plans. Down the hallway, a girl no older than 16 clutched a tray of cleaning rags. Her name was Amara, an orphan, too poor for school, too invisible for most to notice. She swept floors, scrubbed toilets, and changed sheets for a few naira a day. That night, as rain battered the hospital windows, Amara passed the door to Obinna's room. She paused. Something an ache in her chest drew her in. Inside, the billionaire lay deathly still. No family at his bedside. No friends, no children. Just wealth scattered across the world, unable to breathe life into his lungs. Amara stepped closer, her bare feet silent on the tiles. She stared at his face, lined, tired, broken. And before she knew it, a melody escaped her lips. It was soft at first, trembling like a secret. A lullaby her mother once sang when storms shook their mud house roof. Words in Igbo about hope, about dawn after darkness. Her voice filled the sterile room, rising and falling like gentle waves. To her shock, Chief Obinna's eyelids flickered. His fingers twitched against the blanket. The monitors beeped faster, steadier. Amara froze. Did she imagine it? She kept singing louder now, her voice growing surer with each note. Nurses gathered outside, whispering in awe. Inside, the billionaire's lips parted. A hoarse sound escaped a whisper. More. Amara's heart leapt. She sang until her throat ached, tears streaming down her face. And then something unbelievable happened. Chief Obinna's chest heaved. He opened his eyes, fully staring at the girl with wonder. You, he rasped, his voice broken but alive. Who are you? Amara dropped to her knees beside the bed. My name is Amara, sir. Just a girl. Obinna's trembling hand reached for hers. No, you're an angel. The nurses rushed in, stunned. Machines confirmed what they could hardly believe: the billionaire's vitals were stabilizing. Against every medical prediction, the dying man had returned from the edge, all because of a song. Days turned into weeks, and the impossible recovery of Chief Obinna became the talk of the entire hospital. Doctors shook their heads, whispering that medicine had failed, but a miracle had intervened. Nurses began to call Amara the Nightingale. Every evening after her cleaning shift, Amara slipped quietly into his room. She would sit by the window folding towels or polishing the metal tray, and when the silence grew heavy, she sang. Her songs weren't grand. They were lullabies from the village hymns she remembered from dusty church benches, simple folk tunes her mother had taught her before sickness took her away. And each time she sang, Obinna seemed to grow stronger. His eyes brightened, his hands steadied, his voice returned. One afternoon, as Amara finished tidying his room, Obinna cleared his throat. Tell me, child, he said, where did you learn to sing like that? Amara lowered her gaze. From my mama. She used to sing to me every night. After she died, I sang to myself, so I wouldn't feel alone. And your father? Obinna asked gently. Her face darkened. He died when I was 7. Malaria. After that, my aunt, Madame Ifeoma, she took me in. Her lips trembled, but she said I was a burden. She made me scrub floors, fetch water, sell oranges on the roadside. When I turned 12, she threw me out. Said she couldn't waste food on a girl who brought no bride price. Obinna's jaw tightened, his eyes misting. He had known cruelty and business betrayal in politics, but the idea of a child cast aside like rubbish ignited a fire in his chest. And since then, he pressed. Amara forced a smile. Since then, I clean floors, I sing to myself, and I pray. The room was silent. Only the hum of the machines filled the space. Then Obinna reached for her hand, his grip weak but deliberate. You saved me, Amara. You gave me something my billions could not buy: life. From this day, you are no longer alone. Her brows furrowed. Sir, I will take you as my daughter. He declared, his voice steady, though his body trembled. No one will cast you out again? Amara's eyes widened. She shook her head quickly. No, sir. I'm just a cleaner. I don't deserve. You deserve everything. Obinna interrupted firmly. God sent you to me, and I will not waste that gift. Within days, newspapers ran with headlines. Dying billionaire revived by orphan song chief Obinna to adopt. Orphan girl as daughter cameras flashed outside the hospital gates. Reporters scrambled for interviews. Some praised the act as divine providence. Others whispered of manipulation. And then one evening, the storm arrived in flesh. Amara had just finished singing a hymn when the door burst open. A tall woman stormed in her wrapper, rustling gold earrings, swinging. Her eyes were sharp as blades. Amara, the woman barked. Amara froze. Auntie Ifeoma. Chief Obinna frowned. Who is this? I am her only family, Madam Ifeoma declared, pointing a bony finger. And I will not stand by while some old man claims her as his daughter. Amara shrank back, fear flashing in her eyes. Obinna sat up straighter, his voice cold. Madam, where were you when this child slept on the streets? When she starved? When she sang to herself just to survive? Now you appear shouting because you smell wealth. Ifeoma's nostrils flared. I fed her for years. I clothed her. She owes me. She owes you nothing, Obinna snapped. You abandoned her? You forfeited your right to call yourself her guardian. Ifeoma's voice rose shrill with rage. You think money can erase blood? She is mine. No, Obinna set his eyes burning with the fire of a man reborn. She is mine now, my daughter, and I will protect her with everything I have. Amara's hands shook, tears streaming down her cheeks. For the first time, someone was standing for her. Someone was calling her daughter without shame. Ifeoma glared at Obinna, her lips curling. This isn't over, she hissed. You will regret crossing me. She spun on her heel and stormed out her footsteps, echoing like thunder down the hallway. The room fell silent again. Amara collapsed into the chair, sobbing softly. Obinna reached for her hand once more. Do not fear, Amara. No one will take you from me. You are home now. And in that moment, for the first time in years, Amara believed him. The marble steps of Chief Obinna's mansion had never seen such chaos. Reporters crowded the gates, cameras flashing like lightning. Neighbors gathered, craning their necks to catch a glimpse. On that morning, the billionaire himself appeared at the grand entrance, still frail, but standing tall in a flowing white agbadia. Beside him, dressed in a borrowed gown, stood Amara, her small hand tucked nervously into his. Obinna raised his voice, carrying across the crowd. This girl saved my life when all else failed. From this day forward, she is not a servant. She is not an orphan. She is my daughter. The crowd erupted. Some clapped, some gasped, some whispered. Reporters shouted questions. Chief, are you serious, sir? Why an orphan? What about your relatives? Is this charity or sentiment? Obinna silenced them with a single gesture. I have no need to explain God's miracle. She gave me life. I give her my name. That is all. Amara stood trembling, overwhelmed by the sea of flashing cameras. But when Obinna gently squeezed her hand, she lifted her chin. For the first time, she was not just a nameless girl sweeping hospital floors. She was Amara Obinna. Life at the mansion was like stepping into another world. Amara had her own room larger than the hut where she once lived with her parents. The bed was soft, the curtains heavy, the wardrobe filled with new dresses. Maids who once ignored her now bowed respectfully. But Amara did not forget the past. She still woke early to pray, still sang to herself when no one was listening. Often Obinna would pause outside her door, his eyes misting as he listened to her soft voice drifting through the hallways. You remind me of my wife, he told her one evening as they dined together. She too sang in the kitchen. I lost her and our only child in a car accident years ago. Since then, this house was only walls. But with you, it feels alive again. Amara swallowed the lump in her throat. She placed her small hand over his wrinkled one. Then I will sing until the house never feels empty again. In a dimly lit bar across town, a tall man with slicked hair slammed a newspaper onto the table. The headline screamed, Billionaire Chief Obi names orphan girl his daughter. His lips curled. So the old man found a replacement heir. This was Chukwudi, Obinna's cousin. For years, he had lingered at the edges of the empire, waiting like a vulture for the billionaire's death. He had debts, failed businesses, and a taste for power. With no direct heir, he had expected the fortune would pass to him. But now a girl, an orphan plucked from the streets. Chukwudi's fist tightened around his glass. Not on my watch. He leaned closer to his drinking companion, a shadowy man with a scar running down his cheek. Prepare everything. If the old man won't give me what is mine, I will take it. One afternoon, as Amara practiced reading in the library, a servant whispered in her ear, "There is a man waiting in the garden. He says he is family." Curious, Amara tiptoed outside. Under the mango tree stood Chukwudi, dressed in fine lace rings glinting on his fingers. His smile was warm, but his eyes were cold. "So you are the famous little bird who sings old men back to life," he said smoothly. Amara frowned. "I don't know you." "I am your Uncle Chukwudi," lied, placing a hand over his chest. "Family. You see, my dear, your new father is very sick. His time is short. And when he passes, vultures will circle. You need someone strong to protect you." "I have Chief," Amara said firmly, backing away. Chukwudi chuckled darkly. "Chief is weak, but I can give you more than songs. Think carefully, Amara. Wealth is dangerous. And sometimes those who sing too loudly lose their voices forever." A shiver ran down her spine. She turned and ran back into the mansion. That evening she told Obinna everything. The old man's face hardened. "Chukwudi, you know him?" Amara asked timidly. Obinna nodded grimly. "He is my cousin. Always greedy, always plotting. I thought with time he would change. But I see I was wrong." He reached across the table, taking her hand. "Listen to me, Amara. Whatever he tells you, do not believe him. He will try to make you doubt, to divide us. But you are my daughter, and no one can take that away." Amara nodded, though fear still clouded her eyes. Obinna leaned back, staring into the distance. "I survived death once. I will not allow shadows in my own family to destroy what God restored. If Chukwudi wants war, then war he will have." The room grew silent, heavy with the storm that both of them knew was coming. And somewhere in the darkness of Abuja, Chukwudi smiled to himself, already plotting his next move. The days that followed were filled with unease. Even as Amara adjusted to her new life school lessons with private tutors, piano practice, and the sunlit hall dinners with Chief Obinna, there was always a shadow lingering at the edge of the mansion. That shadow had a name: Chukwudi. He moved quietly, always out of sight, always whispering in ears. He bribed one of the junior staff to deliver packages. He met with shady lawyers in dim-lit offices. Slowly, he built a web of lies. One evening, Obinna gathered his legal team in the study. Papers were spread across the mahogany table. Amara, curious, lingered near the door. "This," Obinna declared, tapping the stack of documents, "is my official will. All that I have, all that I built, will belong to Amara when I am gone." The lawyers nodded, making notes. But outside in the corridor's shadows, a servant loyal to Chukwudi listened intently. That night, copies were stolen. Signatures were forged. A false will was prepared, one that left everything to Chukwudi instead. The first strike came at dinner. Obinna had just lifted his spoon when Amara noticed something odd. The stew smelled faintly bitter, unlike the chef's usual recipe. "Papa," she said quickly, her hand on his arm. "Don't eat that." He frowned. "Why, my child?" But before he could lift another spoonful, Amara snatched it from him. She dipped her finger, tasted a drop, and gagged instantly. Her throat burned. She spat into her napkin, coughing violently. The entire table erupted. Maids screamed. The chef dropped to his knees, protesting his innocence. Obinna rushed to Amara, fear etching deep into his features. "Poison," he whispered. His eyes flashed with fury. "Chukwudi!" Amara gasped, her chest heaving. He wants everything." Obinna pulled her close. "Then he will have to go through me first." A week later in court, a forged document surfaced. Lawyers presented it confidently, a will naming Chukwudi as sole heir. The judges frowned, comparing signatures. Obinna slammed his fist against the table. "Lies, all of it. Do you think I don't recognize my own hand?" Chukwudi only smiled coldly across the room. "Time catches up to all of us, cousin. Perhaps your mind is failing." Amara sat rigid beside Obinna, her fists clenched, fury boiling in her veins. That night, Obinna returned to the mansion, pale and weary. "He will stop at nothing," he admitted. "We must prepare for worse." And worse came sooner than expected. It was past midnight when Amara woke to strange noises. She tiptoed down the corridor, her nightdress brushing the carpet. At the end of the hall, she froze. Obinna's door was ajar. Inside, the old man writhed in bed, his face drenched with sweat. His lips moved weakly, but no sound came out. The monitors beeped frantically. Papa Amara screamed, rushing to his side. She shook him, but his eyes had already rolled back. Nurses stormed in, alarms blaring. The doctors worked for hours, injecting, pressing, fighting. But in the end, Obinna lay still, trapped between life and death. A coma. Amara's world collapsed. At the hospital, Madame Ifeoma reappeared like a vulture, smirking at Amara's tear-streaked face. You see, money curses everyone it touches. You thought you were special, but you are nothing. Without him, you are back to the streets. Amara turned on her, her voice shaking but fierce. I may be nothing in your eyes, but I am his daughter, and I will fight for him. Ifeoma sneered. Fight all you want. Chukwudi will swallow you whole. Amara refused to leave Obinna's bedside. She held his hand, whispered prayers sang softly into the silence. But Chukwudi grew bolder. He arrived at the hospital with lawyers waving documents, claiming guardianship over Obinna's estate. The company is mine now, he boasted to the press. And when the old man dies, it will be official. Amara clenched her fists. She wanted to scream to strike him. But she remembered Obinna's words. Do not let him divide us. Stand strong. So she stayed. She sang. Her voice, hoarse with grief, filled the sterile room night after night. And though Obinna did not stir a tear, slid down his cheek whenever her voice reached him. One evening, as Amara sang the hymn her mother once taught her, a nurse slipped her a small recorder. Child, the nurse whispered, I found this hidden in the library. It has voices. Men plotting. Amara's heart pounded. She pressed play. Chukwudi's voice rang out cruel and confident. Slip it in his stew. The old fool will never know. Once he's gone, the girl will be nothing but a footnote. Amara's breath caught. Proof. Finally proof. She held the recorder tight against her chest, her tears falling hot onto the floor. Papa, she whispered to the unconscious man, you fought for me. Now I will fight for you. I promise. The High Court of Abuja was packed to the walls. Journalists crowded every corner, microphones jutted like spears, cameras flashed non-stop. The case of Chief Obinna's estate had become a national spectacle. At the front, Chukwudi stood smug, in a tailored suit, his lawyers surrounding him. Beside him, Madame Ifeoma adjusted her head tie, grinning like she already smelled victory. But on the other side, in a simple blue dress, stood Amara. She looked small, fragile, yet her eyes burned with quiet fire. In her hands, she held the recorder the nurse had given her. The judge called order, lawyers argued. Documents were waived. Chukwudi's attorney presented the forged will with flourish, declaring, all assets legally belong to my client, the rightful heir. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Then Amara rose. Her voice trembled at first, but grew stronger with every word. Your Honor, that will is a lie, and I can prove it. The judge peered over his glasses. And how, child, do you intend to do that? With shaking hands, Amara pressed play. The courtroom fell silent as Chukwudi's own voice filled the chamber. Slip it in his stew. The old fool will never know. Once he's gone, the girl will be nothing but a footnote. Gasps exploded. Journalists leapt to their feet. Even the judge's gavel could not silence the uproar. Chukwudi's face drained of color. He lunged toward Amara, fury twisting his features. You little snake. But armed guards intercepted him, forcing him to the ground. His wrists were clamped in iron cuffs as he screamed curses. The judge's voice thundered above the chaos. This court rejects the forged will. Chief Obinna's rightful heir is Amara Obinna by his spoken and written declaration. Case closed, the gavel slammed. Cheers erupted. Cameras flashed wildly. But Amara did not smile. She only clutched the recorder, her heart still tethered to the hospital bed where Obinna lay, unmoving. That evening, she returned to St. Augustine's. The room was dim, machines humming faintly. Chief Obinna lay exactly as before, eyes closed, body still. Amara sank into the chair beside him, her voice breaking. Papa, it's over. They can't hurt us anymore. But I need you to come back. Please, don't leave me now. Tears blurred her vision. She pressed her forehead against his hand. Then, drawing a trembling breath, she began to sing. It was the same lullaby from the very first night, the same melody that had pulled him back from the brink of death. Her voice wavered at first, then grew steady, carrying every ounce of her love, her grief, her desperate hope. Minutes passed. Nothing. She closed her eyes, still singing, her tears soaking the sheets. "Papa, if you can hear me, fight. Come back. Don't let my song end in silence." Then suddenly his fingers twitched. Amara gasped, her song faltering. She gripped his hand tighter, singing louder, pouring her soul into every note. Chief Obinna's chest heaved. His eyelids fluttered. A groan escaped his throat. Slowly, painfully, his eyes opened. "Amara," he whispered. She cried out, falling against him, her tears soaking his gown. "Papa." You came back. His weak hand stroked her hair. "How could I leave when your voice is my heartbeat?" The monitors beeped faster. Doctors rushed in, stunned, but it no longer mattered. Obinna was awake, alive, and Amara's song had saved him again. Years later, the story of the orphan who sang to a dying billionaire became legend. Amara grew into a confident young woman. She pursued her studies, trained as a pilot, and opened a foundation called Sing to Heal a Center, where children sang for the sick and broken, bringing hope where medicine failed. Chief Obinna, older but strong, stood proudly beside her at the inauguration. "This girl," he told the crowd, "once gave me life. Today, she gives the world hope." The audience rose to their feet, clapping thunderously as Amara took the stage. She looked out at the sea of faces, children, widows, the poor, the forgotten, and raised the microphone. "This is for every child who has been told they are nothing," she said, her voice clear and steady. "You are not nothing. You are a song the world has yet to hear. Sing it loudly, sing it bravely, and never let anyone silence you." The crowd roared, and as she lifted her voice in song, the room filled with the same melody that once saved a dying man, now healing hundreds, carrying across a nation. Beside the stage, Chief Obinna's eyes shone with tears. His once empty mansion was now filled with laughter, music, and life. And Amara, once a forgotten orphan, had become the daughter he never thought he would have his greatest legacy.